Good morning. Over the last couple of months, one of the hard things about everything that's been going on for me has been not having any live sports on TV. I'm somebody who loves sports, all different sports. I love getting to watch them. One of the things I've been missing right now is the baseball season. I love the beginning of the baseball season, the pageantry around opening day and all that comes with that with baseball. It's always so much fun to watch. But one of the things that I really love, my most favorite day of baseball season, is every year on April 15th when we celebrate Jackie Robinson Day. I've always loved the story of Jackie Robinson, the man who broke the color barrier in baseball. It was in April 15th that he actually made his debut into the major leagues in baseball. And so every year on April 15th, every player in Major League Baseball wears the number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson because that's the number that he wore. It's the only number in all of baseball that is retired by every single team. Nobody will ever wear the number 42 again in baseball except for on Jackie Robinson Day. Jackie Robinson really has an incredible story. It was Branch Rickey, who was the owner and the president of the Brooklyn Dodgers, who decided to sign Jackie Robinson to make him be the one who would break the color barrier. When he was asked about why he wanted to sign Jackie Robinson, there's a great scene in the movie 42 that's all about Jackie Robinson. And Branch Rickey is portrayed there, and he's talking about this decision, and he says the reason he wanted to sign Jackie Robinson over anybody else was because Jackie's a Methodist. And Branch said, I'm a Methodist. God is a Methodist. I've always loved that line, and I thought that was such a fun part of the movie. But the reality is that Jackie Robinson really was a strong Methodist. The reason for that was because of a man named Carl Downs. It was Reverend Carl Downs who was the pastor at Scott Methodist Church in Pasadena, California. He was a bright young man. He had come out of seminary, and at the age of 25, he took the pulpit there at Scott Methodist Church in Pasadena. At that time, Jackie Robinson was going to school at UCLA, playing several different sports at that time. It was Jackie Robinson's mother who had reached out to Reverend Downs and asked him to seek out her son, Jack, to find him and bring him into the church and help him in his faith journey. And so Reverend Downs was eager, he was excited to take on this new role at Scott Methodist Church, and so he agreed to go and do this. He went out and he found Jackie out on the street one day and invited him to come to church. So Jackie agreed. He came to church that next Sunday, and he and Reverend Carl Downs just really struck it off, and they would form a great relationship in their life. I was reading about this a couple of years ago in a book called Jackie Robinson, A Spiritual Biography. It's really fascinating to read more about his spiritual life and how that helped shape him in his career. One of the things that Jackie would later say about his relationship with Reverend Downs was how much he appreciated Reverend Downs' commitment to serving his community. He said that he was always somebody who was focused on the people around him. He wasn't just focused on his own problems or the problems of his church. He always had this outward gaze, looking to serve the needs of his community. This was in a time back in the 1930s when it was difficult for African Americans and for African American churches in our country. Racism was incredibly prevalent. It was difficult. There were so many challenges that they were facing as a church and individually. And yet Reverend Downs never let that take the focus of their church away from serving their community. When it would have been so easy to focus on their own problems and just worry about what they had to deal with, Reverend Downs was concerned about how do they start a daycare program from the Scott Methodist Church to provide a need for the community. He was starting social service ministries out of the church. He was working to start libraries that would loan out toys and books to be able to be used for free by the community. Now, later on, Jackie Robinson would say that Reverend Carl Downs was always focused on others. It was something that he instilled in Jackie over the course of their friendship and their relationship. I think it was this lesson that really helped to carry Jackie Robinson through much of his time in his career. As he broke the color barrier in baseball, he was exposed to unbelievable amounts of racism, hatred, bigotry, and violence. And yet he was somebody who faced it with such character and dignity. He really was the right man to be able to break the color barrier in baseball. I think it was this lesson of always staying focused on others that helped Jackie make it through this time. Rather than just ending each day so focused on all the negativity that he had experienced and all the difficult times that he was facing, Jackie was somebody who was always focused on those around him and what he could do to be a blessing to others, what he could do to make the world a better place. You know, right now, you and I are experiencing so many difficult days. It's easy to come to the end of our days and be focused on all of our problems. So often in the last couple of months, I've found myself getting down, and it's usually about some inconvenience that I've experienced. But there's no doubt that there are so many challenges in our world right now. People who have lost loved ones to the COVID-19 virus or to so many other things that are part of life. There are people who are separated from their loved ones while they're in the hospital. People who have lost their jobs and are experiencing economic hardships. There are people who are simply grieving the loss of a way of life that we have known and loved all of our lives. People who are experiencing difficulty in relationships and who are separated from loved ones. Now, in the midst of all of these difficulties, it can become easy to focus on ourselves, our problems, our inconveniences. But I believe that if we take the time each day to turn our focus outward, to choose to see the needs of somebody else and work to bless those needs, to bless others' lives, I think it'll be amazing what you'll find it will do for our own hearts and souls. Rather than just focusing on our problems, I hope you'll take each day and use it as an opportunity to focus on somebody else. Write a note of encouragement. Send a letter to somebody else. Take time to feed somebody who is hungry or in need. Do something to bless somebody's day. I think what you'll find in the end is it's going to make your day a great day.